and it is Lancaster Woodturners Weekly Coffee Hour on Zoom, number 167 for September the 7th, 2023. Good morning, all you all.
Morning.
I have a couple of announcements before we open the floor up. Let me see. First, a word to the YouTubers. If you like what we do, leave us a comment or leave us an upvote. I've noticed lately we've been getting one downvote from, I don't know if it's from the same guy or whatever the guy doesn't like, but if you're seeing something you don't like and you want to leave a downvote, it'd help me out if you left a comment saying what that is. So it might be something we could address. On Tuesday night, we also heard the club took a vote to buy Angelo's used Nova, which is a really nice lathe.
Not Nova. Laguna.
Yeah, for the shop, and a whole lot of people said, "Yeah, I'll throw $50 into that," and 3 of those have actually followed through on that. If you were one was moved in the moment of generosity to follow through, get in touch with me, and I'll help you make the PayPal or send a check or whatever you need to do. And if you've changed your mind, that's okay too. The club has the money in the treasury. It just was a lovely vote of confidence to see guys leaping forward with $25 and $50 to help out with that purchase. We're rapidly becoming a very well-equipped teaching studio. We have one open shop a month, which is this Saturday morning, 9 to noon. I don't know what the demand is for more than that, but it's ongoing. If you looked at our space now and how the equipment we have and what we do there now compared to what we did a year ago and 2 years ago, it's a steady upward curve with increasing involvement of members and opportunities to practice and learn turning and have good friendship and meet people, and it's just a wonderful opportunity. Also this Saturday afternoon, Barry's leading an away team to the music festival at Buchanan Park in Lancaster over by the college. They're going to turn eggs and apples and tops for the kids, and he and Ron are holding the fort down in that. Anyway, that's Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock at Buchanan Park, and anybody who'd like to come and turn and talk to kids and make tops or other quickie things is welcome to join Barry over there. Let me see. Those are my announcements. Oh yeah, next the other announcement is next Tuesday, Susquehanna is going to have our member and Keystone member Thomas Skirtle Davis, who's been making these tall, skinny things that are all pierced, sculptural sort of turning things. He's done a demo for our club, and he's going to do the demo at Susquehanna next week. That'll be a live demo, and I think it'll also be on Zoom. So those are the local announcements. Let me take the spotlight off so I can see the gallery view again. Thank you. Thanks, Jim. Anybody else with other announcements or comments or questions? Okay, I'm going to go to the hands. I'm just going to give you a real quick report on my cane making adventures with a couple of fine points. One fine point is this handle is 3 inches. This handle is 3.5 inches from here to here. It makes a world of difference. That extra ½ inch is just enough material to hold on to, which the other one just didn't quite have it. And the other thing is one cane, the difference in height of these canes is 1 inch. And the one that is the correct height for me happens to be an inch shorter. But the point is that small variations in the length of a cane make a lot of difference in how easily and safely you can use it. So those are my recent learnings from cane making. Questions about that? I do love this piece of hardware. This is a really nice piece of hardware. It has a plate here with a hole, so a screw can go up from here up into the hand. The screw can go from the shank into the handle. You can add epoxy if you want. I usually don't. And it makes a real sturdy, good-looking handle. People stop me and say, "Hey, where'd you get that cane?" all the time. And I do not offer to make one for them.
John,
Okay.
John, if I made one of those for my dad, he'd put it behind the door because it's too nice to use. So
that's a mistake. All right. You want to make it nice, so you want to use it. Dawn, you going to try and share again today? What do you got on?
Yeah, I like to try it, and here we go.
All right.
How's that?
hey,
Looking good.
Good.
Looking good. Right.
I'm impressed, Don.
Okay. Well, I owe that to Bert. As I said, he came on last week after the meeting, and we had a meeting on Zoom, and I kept practicing until we found out what I was doing wrong, and hopefully I've now got it. So what I'm going to go through some photographs and show you my wise old owl, and I'll show you what it is at the end. First of all, the piece of timber that I use is 60 mil, 65 mil square, 90 mil long. And what I do to save me using calipers, I draw my 60 mil circle on both ends, and I put it onto the lathe, and I turn it down to those pencil lines, and I don't have to have a pair of calipers to do that. So then, of course, you mark up the piece of wood to give you a 60 millimeter long piece.
Is that oak we're looking at there?
That's a piece of oak, which I put on afterwards because I hadn't got a photograph of this. Going through it with Bert last week, I realized there was 2 or 3 photos that I should have done and didn't. So I was lucky to be able to add these to it. So that's now showing you the 60 mil length. And of course, we take it down. The 2 lines now that you see, they are a dimension which is the diameter times 0.29275. In this case, it works out at 17.595 millimeters.
Wouldn't that be just 0.3?
No.
Okay.
No. Don't think so. No, 3 times that make it 51, and it's 60. Yeah. And also mark, because I didn't show this on the other one, I've put it back on the oak piece. You'll see I put the same pencil line, the same distance from the outside, from here to there is the same as from there to there. And the reason for that is that I just take it down at a chamfer between those 2 points. Once I've done that, I then turn it into the sphere, taking it down lower than the actual 2 spigots show. Showing on both sides. Now, when I've got that sphere done, I then use these nylon bushes that I've made. One attaches to the jaw of my chuck. The other one goes onto the tailstock. I put the ball between centers with the 2 spigots showing, and I turn those spigots off.
Those are called cone centers, or cup centers, rather. Cup centers.
Cup centers. Yeah. I made them out of.
You can make them out of. I make them out of pear wood. You can make them out of wood. They work really well.
Yep. Yeah, you can make them out whatever you want. You know, it's just that I happen to have nylon, and that worked beautiful. So now I want to mark out my eye holes. So on the center line of the sphere, I just pick out, and the first point I pick up is this one here. And I draw a 40 millimeter diameter circle from that point. Now I need to draw a second line for my second eye. So from the line here to roughly here is 5 to 6 mil. And with my point and my compass, I mark that second point so that I can now draw my second eye socket. I haven't finished at that point. What I now need to do is to draw another line at 25, 30 mil diameter. The choice is yours on this particular one. But you'll notice at the top of the, where the 2 eyes cross, it's just clearing the main eye socket. So you've got 2 eye sockets now. Now this is my jig that I use. The ball sits in there. The top comes down on top of the ball and 3 bolts hold it together. Those 3 there were mistakes and it didn't line up properly. So I had to redo it. Now, I've now got it centered up and I brought the tail stock up to my center point where I drew my circle. And with a parting tool, I have gone to the outside of the inside line and I'm going down half the depth from where I start to that black line.
You're going straight in on that.
Sorry?
Straight in.
Straight in, just straight in as a parting tool to give you a dimension. I'll explain why I've only gone halfway in a short while. Now, once you've done that, you then dish out your eyeball, your eye socket, and you dish it out to roughly the depth of the piece that you've got left across the straight. Now that's your first eye partially done. Now I've had to use, this is a photograph I forgot, so I've had to use one that I've already started. I use a platform and I want the platform to be absolutely parallel to the face of my piece. So this is a metal bar which is screwed to the platform, and this is a metal bar which is flush against there and flush against the stabilizer on the platform.
So it's basically a spacer to guarantee parallel.
That's right, just to keep parallel, because I've changed my method of using my router. Now what I've got now is a sledge with a platform which the sledge sits in, and I'm using an adjuster which I criminalized from another piece of equipment, and this is a locking screw and this is a turning screw, and it sits between these 2 runners so that I've got adjustment, fine adjustment, and once I've got the platform set, I don't have to think about trying to get that platform where I want it and getting it parallel. The platform is set. I'm now using this. Again, it's one I should have done before I'd done this, but what you do is on the center of the eye, you will need a teddy bear eye, which you can get. I got mine from Amazon, and I've got a 10 centimeter diameter one. Sorry, 10 millimeter, not centimeters, 10 millimeter. So I made a circle on the eye, roughly where I was going to be. And with the point of my router bit, not quite touching that 10 mil drawing. So that when you come as straight across, you can see it starts small and comes out big. And that is because you're coming from space across to this outside of your eye. Shows you there. So you're coming across from the center out. Once you've done all 24, you now clean up the outside of your main eye socket down to the pencil line. And you can brush off with, as we were discussing earlier, with I use a suede brush to knock off any little bits you may have in the timber.
Hey, Don,
sorry?
Don, I have a question back. Your jig goes in and out, but you're going lateral on it.
That's right.
How's that movement to make two pictures back? How do you
2 pictures back, right? Just a minute. That
yeah,
one?
right there. Now, how
Yep.
do you make the sideways, I'll call it sideways motion, because your jig is going in and out, right?
No. No.
Oh,
I'll go back. My jig I can adjust my jig so that once this is set up against, once my jig is set up against that metal bar, that is set. It won't go forward any further. So then I adjust my distance between my point and my wood so that it's only just clear by making a very fine adjustment using this adapter that I've made here. So this is the piece that runs up and down between these two guides.
But then you slide the whole rig across
The
manually.
whole rig is then slid across.
I got it. Okay, I understand
Okay,
now.
so the whole jig is slid from there to here.
Yep.
Up against that metal bar.
Yeah.
Got it.
On the center line. Okay.
Yep.
You then clean up the edge because where you've come out, it might be just a little bit torn off. Hence why I didn't go right down to the depth to start with. I can now go to that depth to get that. I then drill my next hole, which is my 10mm hole for my teddy bear eye. And I then drill a hole in the center to take the little stud that's on the back of the eye. Now, before you take this off and turn it round, check that your eye does fit, because I have found that with the teddy bear eyes, although they're supposed to be round, there's a slight variation. So what I do is I put a piece of double-sided tape or masking tape on the front of the eye and just carefully check it into the hole. And then if it doesn't fit, just very fine cut to clear the hole a bit and put it in. Don't push it in too hard, because if you do and it doesn't fit and it's in tight, you may never get it out again. So once you've done that, you have to, sorry, I'll go back. You then turn it round and you do exactly the same on the second eye. Line it up to your second point and do exactly what we've done for the first eye. Now comes the hat. Now, the mortise board has a skull cap underneath it, doesn't it? So I now get a hold of a piece of timber, not 75mm, something like 16, 18mm square. And I drill a hole in the middle. And then I dish it and check the head fits nicely in that hole so that it fits around it. Now you can either leave it square or you can cup it, depending on what university or who makes the hats, because I have noticed that some have got a square cup to the head or others have got a dish. So when you've done that, you then get a piece of timber. This is what, 25, 31, 35mm square. I've drilled a 1/4-inch hole in it to take a 1/4-inch dowel, which is the hole that you drilled in your center of your hat, and you glue them together. Now there's one square one, and that's been painted, and the one on the left is your cup one, and that's not been painted yet. And then when you've finished, I drill, and that's not a very good photograph because I was taking it in my hand. In the top of the hat, I drilled a very small hole to take the tassel. There's the mock-up one I had, and the 2 nylons showing the 2 different hats with the 2 different tassels on. Now comes the body. The body is again 60, 65mm square and around 90mm long again. Turn it round, dish out the center, checking again that the head fits snugly so that the rim of your body fits neatly over your head. And there's the finished article.
Nice.
It's beautiful.
You can put the head in any way you like, and you can have a
Very
family
nice.
of them.
Very nice.
I thought you had a little beak that you put on them as well.
You can put a beak on if you so wish, but when I'll try to go back to that one, you can see that the two eyes have come across to make a bit of a beak, and it's got, but you could, if you wanted to, with pyrography, just put a couple of little black lines there. But I made this because somebody had graduated from university and she wanted something to give her daughter that she could remember. So I thought that was a good thing, a wise old owl with his mortarboard.
Where'd you get the tassel done?
I got those from a company called Hobbycraft here in Havant, where I live.
They would be pretty easy to make.
Yeah. Now, just before I go, last week after the meeting, Bert came on and asked if I could go to him, and I'm thankful because I found out how to get onto what share. The two pens on the outside I made between the end of the meeting and Bert coming on at 4:30.
The blue pen on the adjacent, let's see, the one with the blue with a little circle on it down toward the nib. I can't tell right from left in your screen. It would be second from the left.
That one?
Yeah.
Well, that one.
No, the other one, first one.
That one.
How
Yeah.
did you make that? What's going on there?
That is just a twist pen, and it's made out of ceramics.
So this color and lines is in the material,
It's
or what?
all in the material. Yeah, it's all in the Korean. The same as that one is that is a cigar pen, and that is the hue in the material. I've got a piece here, and that is a wooden one, which has all been laminated together out of just strips of wood.
And what's the guts in those? What mechanisms are you using?
I buy mine from a company called CS Crafts, and they are a slimline fill. What you have is two brass tubes. You have the nib end. You have a distance piece here, and you have your clip at the top.
So
And
you
then
twist them and then to extend the nib?
Twist it, and it extends the nib in and out of the actual pen.
And do you see any difference in quality in the pen gubbins, or are they all pretty much the same?
They're all pretty much the same, John. Yeah. The only time you might slight difference is when you get into the more expensive realm. You might be paying £8 for one from somebody else, and might be £6 from somebody else, and that difference of £2 could be a bit of quality.
And what would that quality be? Heavier metal?
No, just the mechanism. Perhaps the tubes aren't quite the same, and you might have to reduce it a bit. But
I imagine Randy has information about that as well. So, yeah.
Hey, Don, you said something about it being ceramic.
Yep.
Is that corian or something? And
Corian.
how do you
Corian.
turn it? How do you turn it? What kind of chisel?
A roughing gouge.
Regular steel roughing gouge. Okay.
Steel 3/4 inch roughing gouge. Very carefully, because if you catch, it will splinter. And then I use that web net and my buffing compound, which is a rubbing down compound which you use on cars. There's no polish on it at all.
Huh. Very
Now,
interesting.
Yeah. So I'm going to close share unless anybody's got any questions first. I'd like to just show you one more thing, John.
Go for it.
No questions on?
I do have one question, Don. On your flames on your candles, the one on the left, is that red and then it moves to a little bit of yellow at the tip?
Yes, it is. I tried an experiment of painting it yellow and then trying to put some red on it.
Which do you like best?
Yeah, so my wife didn't like it.
Okay, so she likes the yellow best?
No, she just the natural wood. That's just natural wood, all the
Natural
others.
wood.
The same as
Oh,
the candle wood.
Oh,
Oh, the one thing I did with these is I put a little brass eyelet in the top of each one, except for three, that one, and that one. I've gone through, as Bert said, through the candle. But I drilled a hole in my wood first, then turned the candle. So I've got the hole to put this little eyelet in, and they hang so much better, I
so
find.
which did you say your wife likes best, the natural wood or
The
yellow?
5 natural ones, the 7 natural ones against the red one, red and yellow.
That yellow doesn't look natural. It looks like it's been dyed.
No,
Oh, that's a different color wood that's inserted?
no. They're all the same wood.
That yellow is natural?
Yep.
How
When I
come
pumped it
it's
up,
different from the rest of it?
yeah, then none of them have been painted at all, except for that one there, this one over here,
Hmm.
which is red and yellow. But
Yeah.
all the others are coming up as the wood where I've buffed them. Because I
What
buffed
wood?
these.
What wood is that?
The base is made up of kitchen worktop, which is recycled. And these were made out of a bit of beech I had laying around. And it surprised me that these came out this color, but it just happened that way, which I'm rather pleased about.
I like the idea of having the base a slightly contrasting wood, I think.
Yeah, the other thing I did different to Bert was that when I was turning the candle, I put a 1/8 spigot on the bottom of the candle and drilled a 1/8 deep, 3/8 diameter hole, so that when I glued them in, I knew I was going to be in the center of the candles.
Good idea.
Very nice. Okay, one more thing you wanted to show us? What do you got?
Yeah, I just wanted to show you one more thing. It was all to do with last week. We were talking about calipers and verniers with points, and Kai kindly showed us what I was talking about with the curve on the vernier. I couldn't find what I was looking for last week because I'd hidden it somewhere, but I wanted to show you this.
Ah, and that's silver soldered on, welded on?
It's welded on. The washer, cut a groove in the washer and fit the washer over the points of your calipers. And when you come to use it, you've got nice rounded pieces that will never catch.
Huh, nice piece, nice work.
So it takes the points away and takes any, chance of you getting a dig in. If you're doing quite a number of things and you want them all the same size quickly, it does save you having those points dug in.
Nice. Nice
Anyway,
indeed.
that's I finally got there, John. And thanks very much.
Congratulations on getting the share worked out. It's good to see that you can do it. All
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that's fine. Thanks very much indeed. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Don.
Don, your photography was lovely also.
Yeah,
I noted that your photography was very good. Thank you.
I agree.
Well, thank you for that as well, because I did it all myself in my little old workshop here.
Very professional.
I said my little old workshop. I've seen some of yours.
We all have different workshops, that's for sure.
Yeah, we
At different
do.
times in our lives too.
The smaller it is, the tidier I have to keep it.
I know that Bert's chosen to show us something here today. Bert, what do you have?
And I'll just get myself unmuted and then I'll see if this works. Can you see that now?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so basically I just started with a bunch of recycled wood.
Wait a minute. Tell us what we're doing here, Bert.
Oh, we're talking about the last week we were talking about these barrels that I made.
Okay.
And how I held them on the lathe, and somebody made a comment about making a cone center to hold the barrel centered.
Yep.
And that didn't work for me because I was worried about the diameter blowing the ends out when I was turning it. So I said I'll make a few pictures of how I went about it. And so real quickly, this is just some of the stock. I cut it up into lengths. Then I went to my bird's mouth joinery. We were talking about bird's mouth joinery. And so they're cutting, I had to set up that sacrificial fence on the router bit and set the bit so that you get the right dimension so that the inside of the barrel is smooth. And there's the pieces that are bird mouthed. And there's 12 segments on here, and there's the fit on the inside of the barrel. And I no longer hollow these out. I used to hollow them out because I didn't have the bit set right. So now I've got the bit set so the inside stays relatively smooth.
Hold on. Okay, hold on right there. Let's just look at that for a second. Did everybody see what's going on there?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so with the bird mouth joinery, it gives you a 90-degree bird's mouth, and so the 90-degree corner of the one side fits perfectly and gives you almost double the glue surface. So it makes a very, very solid tube. Here's
Bert,
what happens when you go ahead.
What's the correct dimension? How do you determine how deep or high to go with that router bit?
Trial and error. If you have the material exactly the dimension of your bit, then it's easy to set up. But if your material is a little thicker than your bit dimension, then you have to play with it to get the fit that you want. And it's trial and error. I think I probably made 3 or 4 passes on a scrap piece just to get the fit right. But the importance of this picture is make sure you do a dry fit before you put glue on. Because if you put one of these things in the wrong way, and it's got glue on it, it gets a little bit messy. You can see I've got one piece there that's out of sync. There they are glued up, and this picture shows that the outside dimension is 180 millimeters on the left one and 190 on the right one. And the dimension of the rough stock to start with was 49 millimeters, and the other one was 51.4 millimeters. So 2 millimeter difference makes a huge difference on diameter. These two are made from the same size staves. One has 12 and one has 6. So on the 6 and 12 bird's mouth bit, if you flip them around in their orientation, you can make a smaller tube. So all of these pieces are the same width. And I tried making a cone here. I made a birdhouse out of it just because I can. And I won first prize at the Agri Fair.
It seems to me you could make that joint with a plow plane as well, with a fence on
You
it.
probably could. However, the 90 degrees is on a router bit, and you don't have to think about it. You just run it through, and the angle is perfect every time. That's some people say, well, you can do it on a table saw, but the accuracy here is they fit every time.
Well, yeah, for those who can get along with routers, I can't get along with a router. It's a disaster every time. So I got to find another way to do it.
I use a router table. These bits only work in a table. If you don't use these bits in a router table, it could be really scary. But here's my method for mounting this barrel on the lathe. I've got a sacrificial piece of jam chucks here, and I've got discs. And the discs, I just cut them roughly to the dimension of the hole, and then I fit the discs to the hole by using masking tape. And I just keep building it up until till the discs fit tightly. Because even though these are all made with the same, these are all made with the same bit. The bore is slightly different size, and I just adjust it with masking tape, and then I can turn one end and put a V groove on it, so that I've got a V groove that's centered on the barrel, and there's no pressure trying to expand these by going on the inside. There's just a friction fit, and it allows me to put an end on it. Then I use my one-way cold or jumbo jaws, and I take the rubbers off. So I just have these metal discs inserts, and I use those as a dovetail dovetail chuck and I grab it on that groove. And now I can get to the other end and put in a bore. And I use calipers to make sure that the bore is parallel.
Don't you find it kind of wants to fly off the lathe?
Well, like I say, this isn't for the faint of heart. I only turn this about 500 RPM with these cold jaws, but with those metal dovetail pieces, it's amazing how solid it holds, like a regular dovetail chuck. I mean, granted, I make sure I don't spin it at 2000 RPM, but it works. And you take really light cuts with really sharp tools.
What tool are you using to do that?
I'm using a 1 inch by 3/8 thick box scraper to do the.
So you're just
do this-
gently scraping out that recess there.
Yeah, that recess is done. It's just like doing a small box. I use a box scraper and make sure that the bore is actually parallel, and I'll take like a real light cuts. And it goes in about an inch or inch and a quarter deep. But the key there is really light cuts and a sharp tool and slow speed. And like I say, I cannot tell a lie. I did launch one of these once, but I was too aggressive. I was running 1000 RPM and I took too big a cut, and it went wayward. So I smartened up and slowed things down and took lighter cuts. And you learn by experience, and sometimes experience is made from bad decisions.
Hey, Bert, don't you read the directions on the cold chucks? Do not spin faster than 600 RPM.
Yeah, but I can't read it when it's running.
So Bert, did
So,
you try and make one of these with just a compound miter, which strikes me as almost less work to make those staves?
Well, the using a miter on a table saw, getting the angles right is what you never get a perfect circle if you're just using a table saw and straight staves. With a bird's mouth joint, it's a 90-degree fit, and you put the staves together, they just fit, and that was less work.
With the
Yeah,
compound
you have to get
miter,
the
you
angles
make
right.
2 halves, and then you get the halves together.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but this way you don't have to. You don't have to do 2 halves. You just run them through the router and you put them together, and they just fit. So you don't. I mean, you could do 2
Well,
halves, but
To avoid the
Yes, sir.
router, I could do it with compound. I could cut the miters on my table saw, on my
Yeah.
chop saw, and just
Yeah,
glue them
chop
together.
saw. That's
fit
how I
2
cut
halves.
staves, John, is
Yeah.
to use the sliding chop saw, sliding miter saw.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
I mean that's a possibility. I just like the bird's mouth joint was quick and easy, and with the setup on the table, it was quick and easy to get a good joint. So then I turn some once I have the barrels with the ends bored, this is the disc. I turn the disc and I drill it and I thread it, and I use the chefware kits thing. I've got a ship's wheel handle I put on the chuck, and I've done that from experience too, where I had one project where I was doing some threading, and the wood happened to catch on the spinning bit, and it spun the chuck off the jig, because there's no real good way to hold the chuck other than friction. So on here, there's a little ring that your chuck runs up against to make it square, but it's only a friction fit. There's no locking mechanism. So in order to counteract that, I put a ship's wheel on the chuck. So when I'm running this in and out, I'm actually holding the chuck so that it'll never ever run off the threads of the threading jig again. And there again, I just thread the inside. And then I fit the that thing. This is actually in backwards in the bore, but I put it on that way purposely because now I have a chucking recess that I can use. And I make the chucking recess, I take advantage of it on both sides of the barrel, right? So there's the blank. And now I can use a chucking recess with a chuck on either end, put the barrel back on the lathe, and now I can shape the outside of the barrel, and we're perfectly on center. So now I can spin it at 1000 RPM with no problem. And then I mark off where the bands are going to be and hit them with a V groove, and then I paint them, and that's what I end up with.
Very clever.
Yeah, so I mean, I learned a lot on how to set these things, get the barrels going. And somebody made, I think, John, you were asked about making a cone jam chuck to hold the barrel, but I was worried about having a cone pushing out on the staves. If there was ever a weak joint, it would come apart. So by doing it the way I do it, there's no strain on the staves. It's all held just a friction fit, and it worked.
I think I might like to have the weak joint come apart so I could fix that, because I wouldn't want the ashes to come spilling out because the joint was weak.
Oh, well, I'm not sure about that. I don't think I have to worry about the about the screen or about it coming apart that way. So anyway, after last meeting, this is what came out of it. When I was taking these pictures, I ended up making these three barrels. So there's the one end with a faux spigot and a little base, and here's the filler port. It's just a disc that's threaded, and I put a little base on these ones. I put a little base underneath them so that they'll stand there. But I'm done doing barrels now.
My real question is, these are cremation urns. I'm wondering who would want one of these for their cremation urn.
You know, it's amazing when I've talked to different people. They say that they don't think about it much, but a lot of people do think about what statement they want to make. Well, these are just available. If somebody decides they want, if they're a connoisseur of great wines, hey, a wine barrel might be a nice thing. And
Yeah.
it is what it is. I just made them because I can.
Yeah, well, that's why we do most of what we do. That's true. Any other questions or comments for Bert? Well, thank you very much, Bert. That was very interesting and ambitious. I'm going to go to Kai now. Kai, what do you got today?
Okay. Yeah, I've got something for Mike Pierce that I want to show him. I just share it. Just give me a second. Okay. So.
Okay, we see cooperative challenge. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. We had this little symposium I talked about a few weeks ago, and as we, or 8 people who met there, are the organizers of our Zoom meetings. We thought we try out something new. At least it's new for Germany. It's not new for the States. There is the women, or there are the women in turning organized in the AAW, and they have these Zoom exchanges where they build little projects in small groups and then present them to each other. And we thought it might be a nice idea to have kind of a cooperative challenge similar to the exchange in Germany as well. And we wanted to try it out. So we formed 2 groups to do a challenge. And I was in a group together with Matthias, Helmut, and Ecki. And our topic was welliger Behälter or wavy container, something like that, or wavy containment, or yeah, I don't know exactly how to express that in English, but that was our topic. And I want to show the outcome, and especially the birds to Mike. So they are all over the place here. And the nice thing about this is it has got a lot of components, so it can be split easily between different turners, and then you put it together. The communication was done via Zoom because we live apart quite a distance, so we sent stuff to each other by post and then put it together. So some more details of this. Actually, you can see that's a lighthouse and on some rock, and so that the the lighthouse keeper can get to the lighthouse. Here's a poller with the birds on it, and another bird on the buoy, and some in the background. Yeah, and a pirate in the barrel here.
Yeah.
And when we discussed that, we thought about where shall we put the wavy container or containment. So we had this wavy thing that's sand plastered here, so that's the sea. And we thought, well, the whole sea is a big wavy container, or big container for wavy water, something like that. Then we have light waves here emitted by the buoy and by the lighthouse. And then if you look underneath, there is another wavy container here floating under the sea level. And the whole thing is moving.
But what do all these gubbins do? Okay. Have you got yeah, there's a lot of parts there.
It's a lot of parts, and that's what Helmut did. He did the parts. I turned the little Coke bottle and the fish and stuff like that, and the birds and the sea and the rock as well. Yeah, I can show you a video with us moving.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
The boy needs a light in it.
It has a
Oh,
light.
it
in
has
But
got
it's not
one
lit.
in there. I didn't switch it on. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say you got to have it lit. Jeez.
it.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
You left it open so you can watch the action underneath, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also to be able to add the sea life under the sea
Under the
level.
water. Well,
Under the water,
anybody, anybody who lives or visits Baltimore, near the National Aquarium, there's the Museum of Visionary Art. And in one room there's a whole lot of these mechanisms, and you can see all kinds of different ways of getting motion out of cranks in that one room at that museum. So just a note for anybody who is near or ever visits Baltimore. That's a great
Inner Harbor. Is it Inner Harbor?
Yeah, it's in the old part of Baltimore. The Museum of Visionary Art is what you're looking for. You'll find it if you go online. It's a very, very, very strange place, and very much worth an afternoon. There's a coffee bar, a wine bar in there. You can get drunk too if you want to. Okay, Kai, that was really interesting. Anybody questions for Kai? I didn't mean to derail that. Okay.
Okay, well, thanks, Mike, for the idea of the birds.
Yeah,
they make the scene more lively, and they show that some of the objects really turn the bird sitting on the bucket or on the buoy, and then when you
the motion is a whole new element to that. That's really quite wonderful.
Yeah, birds are kind of fun. Kai got that idea from birds I had on birdhouse ornaments. They're fun and easy.
Kai, you need to add a music box to that, because you're turning it ready. Just put a music box for sound.
Yeah, we could do that. Right. Yeah, so it was good fun making this, and this kind of joint project, discussing the ideas and then putting them into practice and talking about dimensions and trying to get it right. The lighthouse is a little bit big on there, but yeah, it was good fun to do something together like that. And I think we will try that with a bigger group, maybe 10 teams with 4 people each or something like this. So if you think about participating, I'll let you know.
We could do it transatlantically, sure.
Yeah.
Ziegler, would you like to give us a little shop tour since you're standing there?
It's not letting me switch the camera.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll move along then. Mike Beast. I'm going to hold you off. Bowman.
Here's a couple of collaborative pieces or from our Four Ways collaboration group. We had a project of a small holoform, and this one turned out better than probably any one I've ever turned before. It's a cherry burl, and it had a potential void in it, so I carefully tried to craft that.
Huh.
Yeah.
What was collaborative about that?
Well, the project was a small in our Four Ways collab group with Richard Reff and Sam Angelo and Thomas Live. The project was a small holoform, and we each did a YouTube video doing a small holoform, and this was mine. The other piece, this is from our most recent collaboration where we were doing a natural edge bowl, and I made mine a natural edge winged bowl, which I enjoy turning. I've done several of these, but this was the nicest feather I think I've ever been able to pull out of one of these. I was very careful and deliberative to try to get some figure in it, so I was real.
What wood is that? What wood is that, Mike?
This is cherry crotch.
Very nice.
And then the back side of it, the feather comes through on it as well.
Very nice. Very nice. That's deep.
I don't have the little stand show, but you display it this way with the little wooden stand that supports it on one end, so it displays vertically.
Yeah, that is beautiful figure in that one. Yeah. Okay, I see another new guy here. You got more, or is that you? Okay.
No, that's done.
Got a couple more minutes. Jonathan Wilson, what would you like to show us?
I don't have anything to show today. I appreciate the opportunity to do that, but I have a question for the membership. I have a Nova Chuck that is out of true, and it's gone barn sour is the way we would describe it. Has anyone else had experience with a Chuck going out of true? That's the question.
Did you take it apart and reassemble it?
I think I'm being uncharacteristically chicken on this one because I don't want to, because I know that it's numbered and the pinions need to be reassembled.
No, I was thinking maybe you did and you created the problem by reassembling.
No.
Is there a possibility? I'm assuming this has a threaded insert.
Yes, sir.
The Nova Chucks register on the inside, and if you've ever taken the insert in and out, and it's a very, very tight fit, if you don't tighten that thing all the way down and register that insert against the inside of the chuck, you're going to have one that may not run true. So I would investigate that to see if that's the issue, not the jaws.
Okay, right now I'm leaning towards it's the insert that has been worn over time and the indent that you're referencing, Mike.
I'm thinking it came loose. Maybe it came loose and it's no longer registered. That's what I would check. Because if it ran true before, I don't think anything went wrong other than maybe the insert is no longer registering and needs to be tightened.
Very good. Thank you.
One thing you can also check is to see if there's some buildup in the threads so that the chuck is not registering squarely on your lathe. I had a friend that had a problem with the Nova Chuck, and we found out that it was the actual registration of the truck against the lathe spindle. And if there was any debris in the threads at all, it will caulk it just that little bit, and you'll notice it. And I blow my threads out probably every time I go out to the shop. I clean my threads out because I've had that same thing happening with the Vicmar chuck.
And pitchy wood will build up there.
Two things come to mind, and I'm wondering if you were to use a dial indicator to see if the body of the chuck is on the lathe symmetrically. And the next thing would be to run the jaws all the way in and see if the tailstock indicates which of the jaws may be out. Just an idea. Thank you.
No, that's a great idea, and I've done a variation of that, which leads me back to the insert that I think is flawed, not the chuck, but I don't know, hence the question.
Okay.
Thank you.
And there's always a possibility that you just Nova, like I say, I had a recent experience with Nova. I ordered a fitting that was built by Nova, and it came out 1/4 of an inch out away from the dimensions. Like the dimensions was a quarter of an inch out, so the machining process in their factory somehow screwed up because the box I got had dimensions. I measured the piece inside the box and there was a quarter of an inch difference. So, and that was direct from Nova to one of our suppliers here in Alberta, and found out that it was not only Alberta, it was Alberta, BC. They checked all their stores and they pulled the same part out and they had the same manufacturing defect. But yours sounds like if it ran true once, it's probably crap in the threads, or like Mike says, the inserts just come loose.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Bowman, what can you do in 2 minutes?
Well, it happens to be that I can. How do you like this for flame?
Oh, about that.
I don't have the
Very
pictures
nice.
done. This is a walnut crotch from my friend's father-in-law's farm. And when I split it open and turned it, I said, holy cow, it's just beautiful. I would probably have to have 2 minutes of conversation about the back. Let me hold it still here. I also had persimmon from that same farm, so I did a persimmon insert. That's interesting. It's going
Isn't that
away.
interesting? Yeah. Through the lip.
Well, but I could not believe it when I turned it open.
That's quite lovely. That's that's on the same class as Mike's and Dave Delisle's work. You guys are becoming masters of seeing where the feather is and going for it.
I only ask for crotch wood anymore just because this is fun. So yeah, that's all I want to show. I didn't have the formal pictures done, but I thought, hey, for 2 minutes, it is.
That's something. Comments or questions? Nice work. Ziegler, you want to try it again?
So this is going to be fast. I'm going to start from outside, turn around. So that's the shop. We've only moved here it'll be 2 years ago in October, but I only started setting up the shop last summer. There's my fancy desk. Have a table saw as you come in with an outfeed table. That bench over there was here, and it's got all kind of crap in it, but it's served its purpose so far. I got the lathe last August. My wife got it for me for my birthday, so I set this up, and it's got a little bit too much stuff around it, but it works pretty well. I have a little Rikon what do you call it?
Dust machine.
Laguna, 1 horsepower, but I have a hose for the table saw that comes out of that trash can over there and hooks up so I can just go between pieces of equipment. I have a turning bench over here. I've got a long bench in the back.
I like that power tool shelf there. That's very sensible.
Yeah, I needed, I mean, like I said, this was just, I did it as I went along because we were still doing work around the house. In fact, we still are. I'm working on a piece of olive wood for Patty. I had to fill some cracks. Then over here, all these shelves were here, all these 2x6 shelves. So I'm just filled them up with a bunch of stuff. I've got a sander, got a thickness planer. I have my relatively new bandsaw. I have a Grizzly bandsaw that I want to give to somebody if they want it. It's pretty heavy, but it's only got like 7 inches of clearance. Let's see what else quickly. That's my library inside there, part of my library. And then around I put this swinging door here. It's hard to see it up close, but I put this swinging door here to help keep the chips out. And then this mess around the corner is a work in process, but I have a little wood burning station here. And then that leads back to the long bench in the back.
I gotta say, that's a masterful use of space, and you can still get a car in there. It's amazing.
That little orange car fits in here, but I don't even like to sand when that car's in here because I did the other day with the dust collector on, and it still got covered with dust. So,
hey, what is your heat? What is your heat? I think I saw a heater. Did you have a heater up there?
Yeah, my cousin's electrician. He set this up for me. It's a Q-Mark heater, electric, and it takes the chill off in the wintertime. It doesn't get very warm in here with it, but it got it from 40 some degrees up to maybe 55 degrees if I kept the garage door closed.
Shops are supposed to be cold in the winter.
Yeah, well, you can always put more clothes on, right?
Right. And it's after 11 o'clock, so we're going to say thank you all for another fabulous Woodturners coffee hour, and we'll see you all next week.
Yep.
Okay, take
Thank
care.
you very much.
Thank you, John.
Bye,
Thank you,
everyone.
Ziegler.
Thank you.
See you.
Thanks to everybody who showed us stuff today.
How many of you guys take apart your lathe electronics and clean the dust out, or do you just wait until it quits? I'm trying to decide if I want to pull electronics and clean all the dust out. Everything's working fine, but am I just begging trouble if I do that?
Yep.
Okay. I'll wait.
The short answer is that it will fill up with the fine dust and you should clean it out. I clean mine out probably every 6 months. And you
Oh,
don't have
wow.
to get right into the damn thing, but you need to go and take a vacuum cleaner to the air force on it and just suck it out. And
What you also need to do, even more importantly, is not blow dust in there as you clean up with compressed air. Be kind of careful not to blast compressed air at your electronics or the switches on your lathe. I've messed up a couple of them that way until I learned to install a shield and not blow air at them, and I haven't done any trouble since. But that was the advice I got from the folks at Robust. I was doing it by myself by blowing air in stupid places.
I always run my dust collector when I use my air compressor. If I'm blowing I have my dust collector nozzle by the lathe. When I use the air compressor to blow the stuff off, I always have that running so it pulls the fine dust away. I did have to replace a VFD on a Vic Mark 150 in Calgary, and when I took it apart, it had an error. It was it finally crapped out. So I pulled it apart and I took the covers off, and the fine dust was caked in so hard you couldn't see the components on the circuit boards. It was just solid mass of real fine dust. It had been in there for about 7 years and never been cleaned.
And that will trap heat and then overheat the components. You fry the switches. So.
Yep.
Wood shop